Live from Music City, Nashville, Tennessee, this is your motivational, sensational, inspirational, educational, aspirational, international, keenly awaited, daily created, highly anticipated edition of the Afternoon Swing Trading Forward. The humble host, Jeremy Alexander Newsom, with another daily dose of mentally delicious brain food, reminding each of you to love life, live life, and trade it. His perfect mom is coming down the stairs now to come get him. Hey. All right. Okay, cool deal. Let's go talk about the broader markets and discuss what's going on out there. We're going to talk about most specifically Microsoft earnings as well as Tesla earnings and go through some individual tickers. I have a nice long list today. If you're watching this on the recording or especially live, strap in because there's a lot of information to cover and I'm really, really pumped to do it. First and foremost, the SPY, I mean, we're really just at a crucial level. If there's going to be any type of actual rollover, it needs to happen really sooner rather than later. Again, I don't know if it will. I'm okay to play both bullish swing trades and bearish swing trades. Earnings season is here, which is fantastic. The only downside right now is the VIX is very, very low, meaning there will not be tons of premium to sell options. But the good news is for option buyers is if you can pick a good gap and you can focus and get the right direction. I mean, it's kind of like roulette. You're betting red or black, you know, gap up or gap down. My theory is to have one consistent edge that you're focusing on the entire time. For anyone who is super bored over the next three days, I do have a free advanced trading program where I cover my earning strategies entirely for free. So you're welcome to go check that out if you get a chance to do that. Also, just so that we know it and so it's available to all of you, in February, I'll be doing a new campaign where I'm raising money for Arrow Recovery, which is our current benefactor for the Real Life Foundation, where I will be running 1 mile for every $100 donated. So the goal is obviously, I mean, heck, if $100,000 got donated between now and the month and the end of February, I'd be running 1,000 miles, which is a lot. And I'd have to figure that out logistically. So I'm starting it now so I can chip away to kind of get an idea of how much I'll be running in the month of February. But just in case you win some extra money or want to throw some, go to reallifefoundation.org and feel free to throw us some love so we can help impact the world. All right, cool deal. Let's go look at the NASDAQ, which is the QQQ ETF. And this is gapping up almost entirely because of Microsoft. We're going to look at Microsoft in just a few seconds. But the interesting thing to keep in mind on Microsoft, and I think on the Qs, is you do have a few bull candles in a row, and we are gapping up into a little bit of a resistance. It should be a very interesting and a pretty decent bullish gap, but we'll find out if we fade off the 200 or not. So we had a little bit of a small gap down today. Tomorrow will be interesting, but you know, a quick little bull move, trade up into the 200 where some selling could come in. It could be really, I would expect tomorrow to look and feel a lot like today if we truly do gap up in the morning, but there's a long time between now and tomorrow morning. The Dow Jones ETF, we're just chilling still, actually. We're battling the 100 simple moving average on the non-adjusted for dividends chart. So that's the one that we're kind of acting as a little bit of a resistance. And if you turn the adjusted for dividends chart on, that's acting as a support level. So that particular support level will just be a price where we can kind of bounce off of on the Dow Jones ETF. Microsoft, not really going to impact that dramatically, I don't think. But again, I'll be watching it. We're going to analyze it in just a few seconds to see if we're going to gap up and fade down on Microsoft. And then IWM had a pretty, you know, inside day. Usually after a very, very fantastic day. And I had a chat with a gentleman named Scotty yesterday afternoon. And Scotty and I's conversation went essentially something like this. When you have a really, really good day, especially towards the end of the month, it's a great, super fantastic opportunity to lock in a bunch of profits and just protect those gains going forward. So that was a good example of today. All right, type in a quick M into the chat pane if you want to look at Microsoft for you. For those watching the recording, you're just going to go ahead and get it now. So here's Microsoft. This is a very, very nice gap. And about 3 days ago, I was analyzing Microsoft and was discussing that an iron condor would probably be the best way to take advantage of this overall earnings move. Iron condor, of course, being selling a bull put spread and selling a bear call spread. And we are gapping up but nowhere near into the spread. And in fact, we're still going to be battling the 200 simple. So 200 simple on the daily chart, you're going to want to draw a line there because we're going to interact with that a lot tomorrow. My thought process on Microsoft, and I'll just go ahead and kind of draw it on this screen, is that we probably have a little bit of a pop up into here, a little bit of rotation, and we kind of just chop around a little bit, is my guess, and end with a small bull candle tomorrow. That's my guess. It is a really, really good gap though, and I'm interested to see what happens. I mean, if it really gets an amazing strong close above the 200, I could always buy a dip on a day trade or something, but we're going to swing trade this and look at this tomorrow and the next day to just get a good idea of what might happen based on this gap up. But just keep in mind the 200 simple is going to be a resistance of some magnitude, and that's okay. Not a big deal, but it's there. However, the gap is legit. It's a strong gap. It's a good bullish gap and go. And I think that there's going to be some people who are going to be buying this, buying really good news. And the big candle to keep your eyes on, for me at least, is this big, huge bear volume spike there. That happened on this day. So my plan is if Microsoft pulls back into like the 248 region, that might also be a buyable spot based on that volume node there on the daily chart. But for this iron condor, this is exactly what you want. You can pretty much close the bull put spread, as it'll be worthless tomorrow morning, and then just kind of hold on to the bear call spread to see what we do. And really, there's no need to even do anything unless it kind of breaks above 265. But let's just see how it interacts with that 200 simple tomorrow. All right, sweetness. I like it. Next on the watch list is Adobe. And Adobe did get that one small move we were talking about over the last 3 or 4 days. This is the last time I analyzed it, was back on Friday of last week, where it looked something like this. It was really just kind of consolidating, not doing a lot. And my analysis was, well, team, listen, if we get a good close above this range, either above or below, I'm down to trade it. Just know that this will be a target or this will be the target, the 100 or the 200. So in this example, we did get the close below. Let's just kind of practice what that looks like, breaking out of that range. Here we go. Bang. Strong close, good candle. The candle before it was an inside candle, right? Showing that compression building. This came in and closed above everything. So this was the day to go long. And then you would look to just sell at the 200. So that's 365. Apologize, 356 to 366, essentially a $10 move on Adobe. So if you bought 10 shares, you got $100. Congratulations, free Buffalo Wild Wings for a night. And that's how you could have played Adobe if you want to. So now it's chilling at the 200. What's important to look at is this weekly chart. We have a lot of room to go. And the monthly chart, we are bouncing off that 100 simple on a monthly chart, which is a strong support. So the question is, will Adobe break out of this resistance? It's hanging its head right against the 200. And the answer is, we certainly need to watch it. This one's going to go on the watch list very closely over the next 3 or 4 days, because it could pop out really, really brilliantly. Next on the list is Eli Lilly. Now, this is going to bring me to one of the first and foremost discussions of the day. The New York Stock Exchange. Hey, cover your kids' ears for a second. I have no clue what the hell's going on with the New York Stock Exchange this morning. I was on the phone for like an hour and a half with TD Ameritrade. Long story short, to the best of my knowledge, there was a bunch of bad prints, bad data that somehow reached the markets. And the New York Stock Exchange, according to a discussion that I had recently, said that they would null and void any of those trades that happened. Because here was the unfortunate part. I got stopped out of one of our shorts, which is a ticker symbol MO, but I did not get filled on one of our bull trades. So the bullish trade did not get filled and the bearish trade did. So allegedly, we're going to get null and voided our positions, which means that it should just return back to our balance sheet. So the New York Stock Exchange is going to have to, like, kind of, I guess, eat it a little bit, which is great because that's going to save me 4 hours. I was a little fuming McFumerton. Not that gaps don't happen. That was not it. It was the fact that it happened within a quarter of a second and everything just was all over the place and the spreads were crazy and everything was terrible. And it only happened on the New York Stock Exchange. So I'm going to give 2 or 3 days for these candles to kind of be recalculated, because essentially it was the largest one-day move in history on 98% of all stocks on the New York Stock Exchange. Riddle me that. No idea, boys and girls. Definitely some weird things happening, but all is good, I guess, at the end of the day. So Shopify, we have a target on Shop, and that target is 46.35. I have my limit order open. It did sell 3 shares out of thousands, but whatever. So I would have been less perturbed if this would have filled and I did not get stopped out on MO, or if this did fill and I still got stopped out, I would have been still annoyed, but not as much, I guess. So anyway, I'm assuming this candle will get fixed. I don't know how long it's going to take, but the trend is still okay bullish. It was like a nice gap. I would have loved to have sold off at open, and that is that. But we are in this particular trade, and if I hide the drawings, really at the end of the day, this is a retest gap anyway. So I want some retest action to come in, let it chop around for a bit, and then slowly grind higher. I'm definitely going to be patient on it. Earnings is in a while from now, so I'm not really stressed about earnings on Shopify, and we'll see what occurs. But this is one of our official swing trades that we are in together, and so that was very, very interesting. And then to wake up to this, where I'm probably just going to bail out of this tomorrow. But again, the largest move, one-day move in the history of the company, in a second and a half, was definitely unique. So if you go to a 1-minute chart, you can kind of see it. Let me just hide all this for a second. So here's the very first 1-minute candle going from 51 all the way down to here. But this did stop out some traders in that first minute. And then it got halted and it came back to normal. Very weird, very crazy. I don't know what caused it. Generally, I'm in the dark on a lot of those weird things anyway. So allegedly, this account should just return back to balanced, bearish, and the loss will go away. That'll be interesting. That's all I got. I'm probably going to close this position because now I have hemorrhoids. I don't know what I have. I have a hernia. I have something. This was rough. This was, I mean, I was eating a 4-hour loss. I ate it. Didn't eat it. I ate it. Full on ate. Not pretty. Not happy about that. But hey, it looks like there's gonna be some resolution. So I guess it's not the end of the world. All right, cool. Pinterest. So Pinterest also in the New York Stock Exchange. So this is also one that's going to kind of glaze over a little bit. Now, granted, it does have earnings. I did try to get an option collar open, but again, this print isn't really valid. So I'm going to continue to give this one 2 or 3 more days to figure out what exactly I do on it. I'm just going to assume that today's candle just becomes validated, and whatever happens over the next 3 or 4 days happens. And it'll be, you know, history under the spilt milk under the rug, I think is the term. So with Pinterest, you know, we're still under that 50 EMA on a weekly chart. And so that's pretty much what should happen there. One trader says, I lost over 15 R's today on John Deere. Yeah, that sucks. John Deere? Or is it another stock? 15 R's. That is a large move. This is the New York Stock Exchange, but might want to glaze over it. I don't really see how anyone could have lost that amount of money unless it was a. Yeah, I don't even know. Basecamp Trading told me to short it at 407. Gotcha. Basecamp kind of sucks. We did set this up at 433 to short a long time ago. Yeah, I would never personally get in bearish after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bear candles like that at a neckline. If you're going to do anything, you're going to short up here. But also losing 15 R's is too much. So you might want to just look over your position sizing maybe next time. But anyway, sorry that happened, man. There was definitely some weirdness going on in the market today. And yeah, sorry if you were a recipient of that. Okay, next I had a request for Etsy on the NASDAQ. And let me go look at the weekly chart really quick. And then the monthly. One of my processes, team, to find a really, really high caliber trade is going through all the moving averages on all the time frames and seeing how much room I have. And that's it. How much room do I have above or below where I'm at? And that's going to really help me identify if I want to get into a trade, because Etsy is above all of its daily, weekly, and monthly moving averages. AKA, it's in a bullish trend. And the only thing stopping it right now is the 100 simple on a weekly, which could be a really good target. But on the daily and everything else, it's above all of them. This was your first bear candle right here, closing above the 10 EMA. So your bullish entry would have been right here, stop loss right there, and you're probably still in this. My opinion, it is coming into a little bit of a prior resistance. I would look to get in down here around 122, but Etsy has survived the tech sell-off storm. And I think they did quite well. And in fact, this kind of reminds me a little bit of Netflix. It was down, 77%. And now it's doubled in value. So it's almost exactly like Netflix. So that says to me that we're probably going to just slowly keep grinding higher. So Edge is bullish on Etsy, buy some dips. NVIDIA just running its head into some resistance. Again, it's at the 100 simple on a weekly chart. So we'll kind of see what happens there. Nice resistance, 3 or 4 bull weeks in a row. And if that breaks out, this is going to be a strong move. I did buy some NVIDIA down here and sold it. And so now I have no other positions of NVIDIA, but I'll look for an S curve or some type of formation like this if I'm going to get back into NVIDIA. Rick says, when you trade the Momo strategy, do you still do all the analysis or do you just follow the Momo process? That's a good question, Rick. So a lot of my Momo trades are automated first and foremost. So it keeps it really easy. But for me, what I use Momo for is to tell me the trend. Once I know the trend, I play that direction. That's essentially it. So for example, on NVIDIA, let's pop into 3 different time frames. So the daily, Momo has been long since January 12th. So I'll draw a straight line there as example. So as of the daily, now on this day, we're bullish. Then I could pop into an hourly chart, turn the extended hours off for a second. And on the hourly chart, what you'll notice is right here, you had a sell signal. Lynn says, can we define Momo again? Momo means momentum. That's it. It's an indicator that we give Lynn totally for free for anyone in the entire world who wants access to it. So this sell signal, Rick, would you have avoided it since you had the bullish buy on the daily chart? And the answer is hopefully. So since you would have avoided that sell signal right here, you could have absolutely gone long once you get that buy signal here based on Momo, and you would still be in the trade. So the question is simply, what time frames is best for you, Rick? And yeah, come up with a strategy that sounds something like that. Have more than one time frame that dictates what the trend is, and then a little bit of a smaller time frame that helps you dictate when you get in. Don't take the ones that are counter trend and only take the ones that are trending, and you'll do really well in the strategy. Yeah, bro, Seppi. I hope that's helpful. Texas Instruments, TXN earnings came out. This one's gapping up a smidge. Nothing big, nothing large, nothing special. Almost not even worth watching. Cindy says, can you use Momo to add to a position? Sure. Yep. I usually add pretty small and pretty light. I don't add aggressively. I'll add 10 shares, 20 shares, 30 shares. If I'm going to add to a trade, that's, again, just me personally. I like to scale in, a little bit on the smaller side. Make sure that I can lose smaller as it's going in my direction. That's one of the biggest, most important keys. So the adjusted for dividends chart, team, shows the 100 simple on a weekly chart of 174.35. This is probably the spot that you look to buy a dip on Texas Instruments. It is a decent gap up, and it really could run. Anything is possible, right? Let it run, and then just look for a pullback on Texas Instruments to some magnitude before you're going to get in. AT&T, largest one-day move in human history. And again, all because of some random New York Stock Exchange print. So this candle probably gets voided and deleted and then removed in a week or 2 or 3 from TradingView. And that'll be that. So really nothing to see on AT&T. Earnings is around the corner, and I can tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, AT&T is the most boring stock in the world. I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't even own it for dividends. But if you want to trade it or you want to own it for dividends, simple. Buy it as low as you can and then turn around and sell it as high as you can and just be as patient as possible. It's not going to do anything fantastic. It's not going to do anything great. And it's the exact same price it was in 1995. So don't expect a lot from this one, but it is low. And if you're a customer of AT&T and you want to buy it, buy low, hold for a little bit, sell high. That's pretty much what everyone else does. All right, FUTU. So I'm still waiting for a dip on this one. It still hasn't happened yet. So waiting for a larger dip. The cool news is you have a perfect inside candle today on FUTU holdings. Whoever requested this one, feel free to day trade this. If for some reason it opens tomorrow below the low of that candle, that'd be an amazing short opportunity for 30 or 40 minutes. And I would still look to go long around 46. This has a good edge to it because it took out all that bear volume there. And if I go to a weekly time frame, the 200 simple on a weekly is at 48.79. So essentially you would be able to kind of buy a nice little dip on this one at some stage. This is what the chart looks like on a log chart, logarithm. And you got an okay little trend line. So yeah, I try to buy a little bit of a dip on it, but the dip is coming for sure. And just kind of wait for a nice gap on a daily chart. All right, Wayfair, again, a New York Stock Exchange issue, had an incredible move the last 2 or 3 days. This is a nice gap, and this is one to put on your watch list. I don't think Wayfair is going away, personally. I mean, I could just be saying that, but it looks to me like it's back as support, and people do use them. People are still shopping there. This is a lot of volume coming in down here, which is great. And we are low, 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 extremely low. So that being the case, what I would look to do is probably buy this one on a retest at the 200 simple moving average, which is around 50. Really interesting shooting star looking thing today. But again, that's really kind of based on the whole New York Stock Exchange challenge. So I think you should all keep an eye on this one. This looks really toasty. Not very expensive. In fact, this is like kind of my favorite range of stock to do covered calls on with some size, right? Buy a company that I know how they work. I know how they make money. I interact with them daily. They're between 70 and 20, and buy a poop ton and then sell a covered call, you know, a few strikes out of the money for a 2-3 weeks away, hopefully get called away and then bank some gains. And if I don't get called away, then I'm just going to do it again. This could be a really good scenario. And I think we're going to come back to this one and look at it Monday of next week. Hopefully you are all still here Monday of next week. It's really easy to join the All Access Pass if you ever want to. It's only $275 a month and it's worth it. That's my sales pitch for the day. Going forward, Roblox, RBLX. Again, I'm going to give this one a day or two to let it settle down because it's another New York Stock Exchange weird looking print. I do love this candle though. So I'm going to come back to this one on Wednesday, which is tomorrow, and also Thursday. I'm going to watch it pretty closely because I think that if we can, even though this candle is a weird candle, break above this high, which is about $39-ish, I think it could run. And as I mentioned recently, I'm accumulating some Roblox down here for my son, Gabriel, since he's on it 473,000 hours a month. And my assumption is that it's probably eventually going to go back up to where it was, maybe 70, maybe 60. But this is going to be a good spot to accumulate. And this is a very, very interesting company. If you haven't studied them at all, I think you should, especially if you have children at all. It's kind of my thoughts. So we're going to come back to this one as time progresses. Next on the list, Barrick Gold ABX was requested yesterday. And on the weekly chart and monthly charts, it's just trading a little in the sideways. So when I say a little sideways, I like to go back and I go, oh, wow, it was the same price in 1997. Sideways. Got it. And then on the weekly chart, it's in between both the 100 and the 200 simple moving average, which is sideways. So when you're playing sideways moves, you generally do not take breakouts. You try to just set up a limit buy as low as you can and then sell it as high as you can, and you wait for the difference. I know that sounds kind of obvious, but that's really the best way to play sideways moving stocks. For me, I'd probably do as best I can to patiently wait for it to trade down to 23. Quick question. Is there a strategy that you can use to get paid to wait for a stock to come down to the price that you want to buy it at anyway? The answer is yes, there is. And I teach it for free here at reallifetrading.com under the advanced trading course. So, just cool little FYI. So ABX, I would keep waiting on that one. No trade on that one yet for me. CrowdStrike. Absolutely owned some analysis recently of CrowdStrike. And this looks like a very interesting double bottom. It's an ugly one, but here it is. Meow, 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 meow. Really cool hammer right there. I would probably take a stab at buying that neckline again. And then I'm going to go to some longer term moving averages because I think that we're close to some. Weekly, no. Monthly, no. I'm just wrong. No moving averages at all. Got it. That means you're bottom fishing. So you're going to want to know what this stock does, what this company does, how it makes its money, do some analysis on it, do some research. But if I were playing this one, I'd probably have a trigger to buy protective puts if it made a new low. And then I would increase that protective put trigger over time. The chart looks pretty clean. And if it can break out, it would be nice. It's had a really, really nice solid sell-off. And I'd like to rebuy it at 99, call it 100. In fact, this thing probably gets pretty good risk reward. I probably would even just buy a protective put here at 97. So really risking $2 and some change if it makes it back down there. Ashish says, how much time will you give for your puts? I normally buy a month out. So I'd buy March at this stage because that would cover me for earnings. But I would only buy puts on this if it went below 97.25. So I have to buy it first, and then I would buy some puts if it broke below a certain level. All right, that's CrowdStrike. Boeing, just going higher. Ashish says, will you buy a collar? I do not buy collars, but I sell collars. And the answer is absolutely 100%, 1,000. Yes, all day. I love collars. My favorite strategy on earth. So given the opportunity to do so, I will always get into a collar. You can jot that one down as a forever in my book, my brother. Forever and ever. Boeing is slaying it. One of the strongest stocks out there. And this is a huge double bottom. And my question is just, will it pull back to around the neckline area? That's really all I'm waiting for. I don't know if it's going to happen. So far, it hasn't. I tried a short on Boeing and surprisingly, or not surprisingly, lost. So earnings is around the corner. We'll see what it does on earnings. As long as Boeing does not open below 204, it should be okay. Eventually, it might pull back down to this area, and I think it will probably happen over 3 or 4 months. So the answer is I'm going to keep waiting, and any bearish position I do, it'll probably be non-directional, like bear call spreads or something like that, and it'll be above the 200 simple on a weekly chart. If I go to the monthly chart, the 100 simple on a monthly is also 220. So yeah, anything I do is going to be non-directional. So bear call spread, short collar, bear put spread, something of that nature. Okay. Coinbase. So Ashish, ready for this? What strategy is this called, my dude? Bang, bang. What do we got here? What do we got? What do we got? This is a collar. Yep, here it is. So I bought some shares of Coinbase at 38. Obviously got very lucky on the price. It did go a little bit lower, but I was going to buy puts down here if it just kept going down, and it did not. If I come over here, you'll see why I did that, because it's not like the most, it's a relatively obvious setup in my opinion. Pretty clean looking double bottom thing. So there's the double bottom, but volume and my favorite candlestick pattern, one white soldier. So I bought some this day here, right here. So got some, got filled. I think exactly at 35. This day comes in, which was this bear day. And I was like, oh no. And then I got, paid off really nicely. I had a trigger to buy puts below the low of that hammer. So then it just kind of moved. So Ashish, the answer, my dear brother is on the screen. He says, how are you managing the coin position? I'm done managing it. Nothing else to do. I'm in a collar for February. 65 call sale, $40 put sale. I have nothing I need to do for an entire month. So now I don't care. I'm either going to make money or I'm going to make money. In fact, I'm going to make about 100% return or 23% return. I'm good, dude. Nothing to do. Stress-free, easy life. That's Coinbase. Buy it low if you can. Tesla gapping up a little bit with the Microsoft news, but we'll see what Tesla ends up doing. So far for the day, it really didn't do very much at all, unless you trade the extended hours chart. If you trade the extended hours chart, this is the only real move you had, which I did not get a chance to play because of all the weirdness that was going on in the morning anyway. That's my excuse, of course. But here is the pre-market open. So if you're drawing a support resistance, support's going here, give or take, resistance going here. Type in a 2 if that's very clean and extremely obvious. Now, Tesla was not gapping above the high of the prior day or below the low of the prior day. So I'm going to be very, very patient to take a trade. Therefore, I'm either going to be a net buyer down here, duh, or a net seller up here, also duh. Didn't get a chance to do either one of those trades on Tesla, mostly because whatever. New York Stock Exchange decided to just be extremely weird. But if you did short it up here around 146 or 145 off that pre-market high, congratulations. I mean, that is just not only obvious, but very, very, very easy. And then the trade that I did get into was here. I shorted there on a retest of all of this volume, the bull volume, double bottomed, and I just had to manage my stop losses accordingly from there. So lower my stops, lower my stops, lower my stops, and broke even. And by break even, I mean won almost no money at all right there. So one of my rules personally is if I get into a trade and it doesn't really work and I have multiple chances to get out for a small gain, I generally do. So now what is Tesla going to do over earnings? That is a fantastic question. So we have, let's see, the 50 EMA on the daily at 153.49. We have the monthly 10 EMA at 149, and you have one of the strongest monthly reversals I've seen in a very long time. Strong, strong, strong monthly reversal. I mean, again, this is a monthly chart, so it's incredible. A gap like that on a monthly. My assumption is it's going to gap up small on earnings, the close of Wednesday, and then fade down a little bit, or just absolutely just scream bullish. I don't know. It'll have to depend on how it opens. If it opens above 155, I think it's just going to retest and then run. If it opens at 152, I don't know. It'll be just a pure guess for me, essentially. And if it gaps down a little bit, I would just try to let it pull back into probably 125, and I would buy some again. Dan says, would you do a straddle on Tesla? Good question. I mean, let's just go look at the last few earnings. So this earnings was a nothing burger. This earnings had a good gap up. This earnings, it did gap up, but it faded immediately. This earnings, nothing really special. This one, nothing at all. You know, it's time for a good gap on Tesla. I'd say so. Sure. Yeah, I wouldn't do a straddle though. I'll do a strangle. I'm more of a strangle kind of guy. So puts, calls. Cindy says your trade's only bullish on Tesla. No, absolutely. In fact, every single trade in December was bearish. Now long-term, I am buying some shares of Tesla down here. By down here, I mean, literally from 100 to 160, I think is totally fine. So what do you guys think? If you have $100,000 and I'm saying I'm buying it long-term, should you take $100,000 and just boom, one day on a Tuesday, buy all the shares? No, right? Sprinkle some in. Take 5,000 one week, buy some. Take another 5,000, put it at a nice limit that you would like to buy some. Take Wait a week, throw in another 5,000, right? Pyramid in so that you're not as emotionally tied to it. That's the key, because bottoms are going to be very, very hard to time. No one's going to do it correctly or perfectly. But what's interesting is you did get a Momo buy signal today on Tesla. So let's find out what happens on earnings. I think it's going to gap up small on earnings, probably to like 152, and then we're just going to have to see what happens. That's my guess. That's my thoughts on Tesla over earnings. Dan says, you and I have a mutual friend, Troy. Dude, the amount of time I spent with your boy, Troy. I love that dude. Tell him I said hi. That's awesome, man. He's a great dude. Great guy. Maloney says, I mean, because it's Tuesday, maybe, but not if it's a Wednesday. I might be interested. Yeah. It's going to be extremely interesting to see what happens. All right. Roku. Speaking of interesting, Roku is doing something, moving. This thing ran right into the 100 simple like a stone and got punched right in the face. So we'll just have to see what happens on Roku. By the way, quick question. If we're practicing the 10 EMA strategy, I mean, we might as well practice it while we're here. Type a 9 if this candle and this setup fits. Now, while you're all typing in a 9, please note that I did not take this trade. I'll always share whatever trade I do take or don't take. This one was not one of those. But that is a perfect 10 EMA setup. So if you're wondering, if you're practicing and you're getting better at it, that's it. So your entry right above that high, stop loss right there, boom, boom, go smile, work is done. And look at how that puppy soars. Woo! And then bang, right into probably one of your main targets, right around there. I mean, that would have been a great, great bill paying trade. Question, could you have done that with 1,000 shares and made 10 grand? Why not? Sure. Could you have done that with 2 shares and made 20 bucks? Sure. Could you have done that with 10,000 shares? Made 100 grand? Sure. So anyway, nice looking move. Huge resistance at the 100. I will keep an eye on Roku. There's nothing it's doing right now. Today's an inside day candle, which just means the pressure is building. My assumption is it would pull back a little bit and then chop around, and then we'll see what happens on earnings. I don't think Roku's gonna be amazing, but there is some decent edge to it right now. It's had some really, really fun, an amazing 40% crash in December, and then a huge 60% rally in January. So it's all over the board, and this is going to be very fun to keep an eye out on and track. So I'll put it on the list for Thursday. Continuing with the day, Netflix, it's bullish, be bullish, buy the dips, stay long. That's really it on Netflix. Perfect gap and go, really, really good candle setup. I mean, it's breaking above all moving averages. I don't see why it would stop for a little bit. So be long, buy dips. Trend is amazingly strong on Netflix. So whatever weakness it has, buy that weakness. Agilent Technologies. Is this a double top? Maybe. This is an interesting candle. This is a new black crow, one black crow style candle. Really good high wave indecision candle. It's okay. I mean, whoever requested this one, I would probably set up like this. Short below the low of today's candle, stop above this new high, and then target essentially back down at this overall support. It's an okay trade. I give that one a B+. Beyond Meat, still in business somehow. Oh, okay. I see a resistance. It's hanging out at that resistance. It's closed above the 100. And it did it with volume. Okay, sweet. Well, that'll be easy. Inside candle. I bet it closed above the 10 EMA too. It closed above the 10 EMA. Now, really, this one also was your first bear candle closing above the 10. So that would have been an entry, but we did reset the count with a close below the moving average. So let me just see if there's something glaring that I'm not missing to take that trade. Moving averages on the daily were good. Weekly. Ooh, the 20. Okay. See, this is what I mean by glaring. There's certainly something there. I'd really, really want a good close above this price because there's a lot of resistance there. A good close, and I will take this trade, but that is going on the list for tomorrow. And if it can break above there, let's go. Towards the end of the day, that one needs to set up. All right, Zim, zippity doo dah, Zim integrated shipping. This was the talk of the town for a while. Interesting. Two bear candles, both closing above the 10 right here. Inside candle, kind of a cool looking shape. Again, you are picking a bottom if you're playing this thing. We've traded this a lot back up in here. Speculative position because the stock sold off so fast. I mean, you know, the reason I say speculative, I mean, if a company goes up 300% and then down 95%, you got to be like, wait a minute. maybe this isn't the strongest of companies. I'd probably try to buy this one on a dip and then set your stop all the way at the new low here. So 1830 by 1590, and then put your target up here at 2150. If you're playing Zim, that's probably how I'd play it. QS QuantumScape, I'll probably skip over for now because it was a New York Stock Exchange and it had just randomly huge candle come in. This is another one of those garbage companies. I don't mean like trash pickup companies. I mean actual potential garbage that is still around somehow. We do have a weekly 10 EMA setup though, which is interesting. That is cool. Let's come back to this one on Thursday, because if we get a small bear candle tomorrow, I could set up just a bottom fish. Every now and then when you bottom fish, you catch a catfish. And sometimes that's really all you catch. All right, continuing with our list, AMGN. I was looking at AMGN, which is a biotech stock, because it had a bull candle closing below the 10 right here. The challenge that I see then is the incredibly strong support that's just really sitting right on top of. So that's my pickle. It looks like a short. It looks like a double top. You're also at a very, very strong resistance. I'm going to wait. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to have really, really compelling arguments for both sides. I generally do nothing. If you see this as bullish, I'd play it non-directionally bullish. And if you see it as bearish, wait for a little bit of a retest and then best of luck. Yeah, that's my thoughts. CRPT, First Trust Skybridge crypto industry. Nothing says trust like being down 94%. Dan says, I lost 100,000 in a year in my retirement account. Yeah, you wouldn't have to give me that heads up, dude. I could have told you that when I pulled up that chart. Sorry, bro. That sucks though, man. I mean, I hope it comes back. I'm sure you have shares in it, so I do hope it returns for you. But yeah, that blows. That blows hard. Yeah. There's not much I can say on this. No sky bridge on this one. Hopefully it recovers, but it probably doesn't. It's an interesting ETF. It has very little volume. Let's keep it on the list. Let's look at it next week. Let's give that one a little bit more time. I'll put it to you this way. It doesn't look amazing. It could easily recover, but it's got some work to do. Yeah. UEC, Uranium Energy. I forget who I was analyzing this one for not that long ago, but the analysis was essentially, I think, if I remember correctly, I got asked to analyze this one up here. My analysis was, yeah, to pyramid in, buy low, sell high in 3 different tranches. And these were the tranches, 412, 374, and 328. All of those have hit and it's bounced. So whoever asked for that, congrats. I guess you could take your stop loss or protected puts and increase it at this stage and just hope it breaks out. And that's really all you're doing is you're hoping. The 100 simple on a weekly is doing its best to hold this thing up. You do have some really, really strong compression. So the higher lows look like this, lower highs look like this. I think it trades sideways for a few more months and then hopefully breaks out in one direction or another. And obviously if you bought it, I hope it breaks out for you bullish. The other one, the other disaster, Bitwise Crypto Industry Innovators ETF. I mean, again, they're really cool when they go up. And unfortunately, most people find me too late because let me give you an example. If you guys came to me or doing a webinar and I was like, trust me, I'm really wise. Zach Johnson, trust me, dude, I'm super wise. I'm actually Bitwise. I know a lot about the crypto industry and I'm an amazing innovator. When you throw random synergistic corporate lingo words into an ETF, I don't buy those. Just my opinion. It's a good rule going forward. We can all learn things from painful losses. I've been there. I've been there many times, but I do like to look at some names sometimes and just go, you know, nah. Yeah. No. Nah. Bitwise Crypto Industry Innovators. Now I get it. It's nice and low. So should we be getting in? And your ego is going to want to say yes. The chart says not yet. Let it pull back. And if you do want to trade crypto, I trade crypto. I'm all about it. Trade cryptos that are in uptrends. I just trade the actual crypto. And the 3, Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin are the 3 that I will trade the most. I will just trade the actual crypto itself and not the actual ETF. All my opinions, of course. AMD had its pullback today. We talked about that pullback just yesterday, and we're going to see how this thing gaps up. If AMD gaps above and opens above the high of today, I think it'd be a really good day trade to take. Today was obviously no day trade at all on AMD, or at least shouldn't have been. But if you're swing trading it, we'll see. We'll find out what happens. Earnings is right around the corner. And today is probably an okay time to try or get into an iron condor, bull put spread, bear call spread, and let's see what happens over earnings. That's probably what I would do. And we'll come back to AMD later in the week and just see what it does. Earnings will be fun, though, on AMD for sure. Inside day, big time on AMD. I don't think I typed this in correct. What's TRMD supposed to be? It doesn't look good. And I don't know what exchange is it. What is that? That's on the NASDAQ? Wow. Huh. Oh, another shipping company. Danish shipping company. Well, they're about to ship things lower. I mean, that is the greatest head and shoulders pattern I've ever seen, with a small little bull candle right below the 10 EMA. So I would just, don't go long if it takes out the low of this candle. That doesn't look great at all. Delta. So Delta Airlines has broken above its long-term moving averages, the 100 and 200. You're having really good compression. This is already reported earnings. So there's a very good pennant pattern on Delta. And I had a Delta flight the other day and the meal was delicious. That's my news on Delta. I'm serious, guys. The tortellini was so good. I thought about just buying shares of Delta. I'm not exaggerating. It was like 5-star tortellini. Like, get me some more of this. It was just really interesting. I liked it. So good pennant pattern, building pressure. Let's see if this thing can break out, explode, or pop. It would be a little bit of a scalping McScalperton, most likely. And if it can run up into some resistance, you know, it'd be a good trade. The trend is bullish right now, and you only have a little bit of things to worry about, which would be the 200 simple on the weekly, which has acted as a very, very nice resistance. But this is an inverted head and shoulders pattern on Delta. So keep that in mind. My boy David Wygant said he flew on Delta last night. Nicely done. So yeah, it's a good pennant pattern. This can easily go higher. Keep a close eye on it. GBTC, Grayscale Bitcoin, which is the the ETF. It is down. It's a lot lower than Bitcoin is. So this thing is down 78%. Bitcoin right now is only down like 64%. Saying all that to say, they got to outrun their again, just perfect word, right? I've never bought GBTC. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I just buy the real thing. It's really easy. Pull up an exchange, buy Bitcoin. People got scared that it would go insolvent. Yeah, it dropped a lot. But anyway, Bitcoin, crypto, I still trade them. Trading is incredible. Buy the dip. We'll see what happens. It had a really, really good pop out of here at around 850. So it was a gorgeous, gorgeous breakout. And again, I like it. I'm a fan, but let's see if it can pull back a little bit. And then David, looks like you bought it low enough to just kind of keep holding it for a little bit. But again, me personally, I just buy the actual Biddy McBitterton. Zscaler. Just looking at the moving averages, this thing has gotten really beat up. But the good news, 2 bear candles closing above the 10 EMA. So I'm assuming whoever requested this one got in on that day above the high of that bear candle. If you did not, that's probably how I would attempt to get in. Pull back into 114 on Zscaler. CVS, apparently no one shops there. Down from 104 to 86. Ginormous triple top again. It already had a huge triple top back in 2016. Looks like it's trying to repeat that. I don't have any position in this one, but I would let it go lower before I bought it, or let it go higher before I shorted it, because it's already at the bottom and it can go lower. It's really, really, really extended. This could be one you could sell some puts on if you don't mind owning some shares around 75. If you can get some good premium for that, I would keep an eye on it. I wouldn't just blindly go in there, but it's looking not fantastic. I'd like to buy it lower, and 75 is where I'd be a buyer. CHK, Chesapeake Energy Company, went bankrupt once, trying to do it again at some point. I would say on this one, if I'm looking at it, my overall opinion, my overall thoughts, is below the 200. Really, really strong support resistance here. Perfect support resistance here. Let's see what it does. It could break out either direction. Some good pressure is building. I don't have any position or plan on it right now, but we can always see if it can go down into the 100 SMA at 74.48. JP Morgan, also a New York Stock Exchange challenge, and pretty decent gap up. Okay looking move. But again, it's rife with all the issues and the challenges that the New York Stock Exchange faced today. So I don't really trust that candle. I'd try to buy it as low as I could at 125 if you're playing JP Morgan. Dan says, at the end of your presentation today, can you explain how your funded accounts work? Great question, Dan. I won't be able to do it today only because I have an appointment right after this with a jiu-jitsu mat and my 13-year-old, but tomorrow, be here, bring your friends, and I'll talk to you about that tomorrow for sure. Because it is, what do the kids say? Dope AF. All right, I'm just going to do a few more and then I'm going to add the rest I didn't get to tomorrow. Trace Medical, very, very light volume, but looks like a pretty decent breakout. Let's see if this retests. Todd says, do you come on every day this week? Yes. So the best way to find our schedule, Todd, is to click on where it says live trading right here. And there's actually a schedule that you can get the exact day, the exact person, the exact name of the class right here in schedule form. So feel free to go there, check it out, and see the exact schedule for everyone. But I am here at 2 p.m. Pacific, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. TMCI, let's see if it can pull back into $25. That's where I would buy it and be very slow. Let it methodically grind higher because it does not look extremely fantastic. Gilead Sciences. I feel like was it Gilead or was it something else that we tried to short? No, it was Gilead. I shorted Gilead here, got out over there for essentially a nothing candle. But I think someone's right. This is working on another double top. Strong support. We'll see if it breaks down. I don't have any position on it right now. We did have a position on this, but I'm going to put it on the list for tomorrow, which is Wednesday, and we will keep an eye on it. One more for today. I'll do Oxy and I'll add the rest to tomorrow's list. Oxy, another New York Stock Exchange challengee with these really crazy upper and lower shadows. Last 2 or 3 times I looked at Oxy, my analysis was essentially, if you're looking at this on a monthly chart, you're battling the 100 and 200 simple on a monthly time frame. You're right smack dab in the middle of those. AKA, don't expect a lot. I wouldn't aggressively trade it. I wouldn't take a breakout by any means, but I would do an iron condor. Bear call spread, bull put spread, sit back, relax, let it chop around, and trade sideways. What stocks would you guys like me to look at tomorrow? I'll put the rest I did not get to on the list for tomorrow as well. Caterpillar, I got XLF on the list. Silver Futures. No, sorry, Silvergate Capital. Can do that. US Steel, Giraffe Kings. Chris says, nice session. Loved your book. Thank you. My pleasure. Thanks for being here. You are awesome. I appreciate it massively. All right. Cool, team. Well, I'm going to be here. Same time, same place. Thank you so much for tuning in. You are stupendous, remarkable, fantastic, and I love you. And I'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. And until then, love life, live life, and trade it. I'll see you later. Bye.